let's try to adjust this a little bit, because as we know, YouTube has its own zoom features that are just different for my phone. So even when I try to set things up before I start, it just doesn't work. So we can see Creamy Swords Artisan Soap. For me, that's the highlight of today. um, and then what else? And then you can see me, of course. I was gonna use a microphone because I don't really want to like speak loudly because my child is still asleep. But I just decided not to because I'm not ready for anything that's gonna give me extra stress. And with all those microphones, the microphone I have, like I think the battery can die. So I was just like, let me just not try myself because I don't think the battery is charged. And so yeah, I just decided to do it this way. I'm still not gonna speak loudly. I know I said I was gonna start at 7 and we're starting just short of just 10 minutes before. So apologies for starting too early, but I'm such an early bird that like once I'm ready, I'm like, oh, I can't just be waiting for 7. So I was just like, you know what, I'm just gonna start because who knows. I plan to do this for an hour, but it might run over an hour. You see what I don't like right now, yeah? Is that my head is being cut off. And I'm trying to put my head in, but at the same time trying to factor in my dear Creamy Swords Artisan Soaps. But I think we're just gonna leave that because now this looks better. So I'm trying to wait for a bit to see if anyone's going to join before I start because I don't want to just start. This is going to be, my goal is to have this one for an hour. It may be shorter, it may be longer, anything can happen. The king himself could wake up and come here and start screaming, and that might signal the end of the video. Or, or it could just go well and we'll do this for an hour. So yeah, anyway, how's everyone doing? Today's agenda is pretty relaxed. I do not want to, especially how these live videos go. Guys, remember the last live I did? You know what? There's a channel I watch on YouTube. It's not a soap channel, and the man does lives. He literally just does only live videos and everything. And his own videos are so long. They're like 1 hour, 2 hours sometimes. But he has such interesting things to talk about. So I like to watch him, especially when I have the time. And he did a video that got deleted. I felt his pain. He kept talking about it. He's like, I can't believe we lost that whole life. Can't believe we lost. I'm like, I've been there, so it's so painful, especially when you're a content creator. People don't even understand how much work goes into all these things. Like, it just, we get to see, because even I was once a consumer of content rather than a producer of content. And I just got to see the end product. And honestly, when you watch a 10-minute video, you think, oh, easy peasy lemon squeezy. But 10-minute videos, especially 10-minute videos, for me especially, those short videos are the ones that take the most work. Live videos are not even as hard. It's just when you do a live and you're creating something and it gets deleted, that's painful, right? But like those, my 10-minute, 15-minute videos are the ones that I work the hardest on, because that essentially is like 2 days of work squeezed into 15 minutes in a way that is, attractive to the viewer, in a way that allows you to kind of enjoy what you're watching. There's an experience to it, guys. There's so much to those videos. Anyway, so yeah, it's just so much work. So let me just get right on with it. So today I just wanted to talk about my experience in soap making in general, how I started, my first design, how it's been going, my failures, which seem to be like all the time, and my of course my successes too, like my good soaps, and my tips, the little tips I've learned along the way, the things I've learned that they're not as important as I thought, things like that. Like, I just want to have a chat. I'm hoping that I'll get questions from you guys. And yeah, so let's just get right on with it. So So how did I start soap making? So I've said this before, but I'll just say it again. You know, for those of you who are just, oh, by the way, welcome if you're just joining my channel, and if you just recently subscribed, thank you so much. The fact that you actually even, I always say this, the fact that you deem me worthy to subscribe to is such an honor, and I'm so grateful for you, and welcome. And yeah, so if you want to kind of expand my reach and help my channel grow, don't forget you can share my videos to anyone that you think might find it interesting. And just, yeah, click that like button. It helps. So as you're watching now, go and click the like button. Anyway, so how I started soap making. I think, not I think, I know. I bought a natural soap once because I've always been someone who likes to like gravitate more towards natural things, towards things that I think, that I know are healthy for my skin, or, things I consume. I just want to be more natural, more healthy. I don't like to use anything that I think has chemicals, or, and sometimes, as people generally, once we hear, some chemical name, we just think, oh my gosh, chemical. But in chemistry, and I did chemistry, yeah, up to university level as well. So I do know what I'm talking about. In chemistry, when you hear some chemical compounds, it's not necessarily dangerous. Just because it is sodium hydroxide does not mean it is danger, does not mean it is toxic. It is sodium is a compound that is a not compound, is an element that exists naturally. And hydroxide, really, hydrogen, oxygen, what's in your water, it's H2O, it's two molecules of hydrogen to one oxygen. So it's literally free, should I say free line? It's like, it's not toxic, it's not like a chemical. So when you even hear things like toco, what's that one for vitamin E? Honestly, I don't even remember the name, like tocopherol something something. You can get scared and think, oh, this is so dangerous, this is that, but it's not. It's usually just our ignorance, like we don't really know what is what. And so I'm aware of that. So even when I say I wanted to gravitate away from chemical stuff, it's not because I don't know that some of these things are not dangerous. Like, a lot of people are against, I'm not going to name any brands, but a lot of people, especially soap makers, are against like some big brands, and they say, oh no, they put chemicals, they put this, they put that. And then I took my time one time and picked a big brand in the store, and I took a picture of the ingredients, and I went home and I looked through the ingredients and did my research, and honestly, they were not dangerous. They were not. It's just people just want to scare you, right? But anyway, that's not to say that I don't prefer my own soaps, because yes, they're not dangerous, but there may be things in them that, enough research has not been done on these um, ingredients to say that they are 100% safe. And so for me to know that what I'm using is 100% safe, I literally want to make it myself. That's just me, And so I just saw the ingredients of the natural soap that I bought, and it was just three oils. It was coconut oil, it was olive oil, and shea butter. And these are all oils I have in my house. I've always been someone who likes to have oils. I'm just such an oil person. I remember my dad came one time and he said to me, he said, you have so many oils. Like, what are you doing with oil? He was just like, what are you doing with oils? Like, oil here. This is how he said it in his Nigerian accent. Oil here, oil there, oil there, oil there. He was just like, what are you doing? So I just laughed, and and really at that time, because I wasn't making any natural products, it really was actually weird that I had so many oils. Like, I just had a thing for oils, right? So you'd see me go to the store and buy almond oil, buy grapeseed oil, just buy random oils just because, right? So what I was doing with them at that time was I was using them on my skin and my hair, and just like applying them whenever, like I would just take them, rub them, just, because I just wanted them in my hair. I knew they were good for the skin and the hair, but I didn't quite know how to kind of utilize them in ways that were more functional. And when I read these ingredients in that soap, and the interesting thing is, the people who made that soap did not put lye. They didn't write sodium hydroxide. They just, because obviously they know that sodium hydroxide scares people. So they just wrote coconut oil, olive oil, and shea butter. And so I came to my kitchen, I brought out the three oils, and I looked at them. And I'm like, how can I turn these three oils into soap? Like, how? And that's a bit embarrassing for me though, because I had done saponification in school. I actually had in secondary level, secondary school level. But somehow, obviously, secondary school is like, for me, it's like, it's going to 20 years ago now. So it's a, actually, no. Well, yeah, it's going to 20 years ago. I finished secondary school when I was like 16 or almost 16. And so it's been so long. And so for me, I knew I should have known saponification, but I forgot. So when I started to do my research, I started to remember again. Oh, acid, alkali, all this, that. I started to remember all the basics of the science, and then I found out how to do it, and I decided to give it a try. And so I used those three basic oils that I had seen, and that was olive oil, coconut, and shea butter. And I just created my own recipe. Honestly, out of the blue, it wasn't, I didn't quite know what the functions of each oils were. So I just worked with whatever. I just created my own recipe. And interestingly, my recipe was not even bad, because for me, my most important oil of them all was the shea butter, because I do like shea butter. I'm West African. That's our main oil. It's from us, it comes from where we come from. We produce shea butter in Nigeria and Ghana. So that for me is like my most important oil, even till date. Like, out of all the oils I use, shea butter is my number one. Like, nothing cuts it. So I just wanted to have a high percentage of shea butter and a high percentage of olive oil, but a low percentage of coconut oil, because I was aware that coconut oil is comedogenic. So coconut oil obviously clogs pores. I don't use it on my face. Do you guys know that there was a time I used to use coconut oil on my face? Because I had been so deceived that coconut oil was like the best oil. It was like liquid gold, and I was using it on my face. And that period of my life was when I had the most breakouts. I don't even know what I was thinking. I don't even know. Well, I didn't know better, to be honest. So I was just using it. And come now, I've realized that that was the worst thing I did to my skin, because I had so much breakouts at the time. And now I just use only shea butter on my face. And honestly, it's heaven. It's heaven. Anyway, let's get back to it. So I wanted as minimal coconut oil in my soap as possible. And so I think I ended up sticking to about maybe 20% coconut oil, which wasn't even so bad. And so I had a nice soap. So my very first soap was actually really nice. Unfortunately, because this is a live, I can't show you guys, but I do have pictures and videos of it, even on Instagram. On my Instagram page, it's Creamy Swords. You can go on there and you will see like stuff. I have my first soap on there. So that was my first soap, and it was just so satisfying to create my own thing. And then I was like, you know what? This is nice. This is really nice. And so the only feedback I got, because I made a few and I put some oats and honey in the soap. And the oats I had put, I didn't even grind it, nothing. So it was so scrubby. It was like using a stone. But the good thing is I use a loofah. And so it didn't feel too bad, because I would rub it on the loofah and then use the loofah on my body. So it wasn't so bad. But like, the soap in itself was really exfoliating. Like, it was so scrubby. And so that was like the only thing I had learned not to do anymore, was to use oats in its original state. And so I started to grind the oats and sieve it. And even with that, it still feels scrubby, so you'd have to not put too much of that. And then I went into colloidal oats as well. So I do like the mixture of colloidal oats and a bit of normal oats. And yeah, so that's kind of my go-to when I make oats and honey soaps, for example. And that was my first soap. And so now let's leave that. Now, let's talk about my first soap design. And actually, I'll show you guys. I still have it. Let me show you guys my first soap design. It's in here somewhere. Where is it? It's not this one. It's this one. Yeah. I still have it. And guess what? It is still one of my favorites. This one. Yeah, most people don't know that this was actually the very first, like this actual bar of soap, not this design. This bar was from my first design ever. Look at that. Let's block the light so you can see the texture. This was my first design ever. It has some salt on there, and then it's like well textured. To date, this is one of my favorite soaps. I love this soap. This is the very berry on my website. This is made with 4 oils, because by the time I went into making designs, I had kind of moved on. I started to understand my oils, and so I added castor oil to my recipe. So this has shea butter, olive oil, coconut oil, and castor oil. And so I added that to my recipe, and the castor oil was just to improve the lather. But these soaps, honestly, are still the best, and I really, really, really love them. This one's unscented because I had forgotten to add my fragrance oil. And so I made some more. And you all know that once you make a design, it's hard to kind of recreate the same design. So I think I have other variations of this soap on my website. So I made that one. That was my first design. And the plan for this design, this was a failure. This was a failure that turned out really nice. So the plan for this design had been to do like a hanger swirl. And so because I was improvising with everything, I had gotten a hanger, like a wide hanger that I had. I had kind of, molded it into the right shape that I wanted for my mold. And I went on to make the soap, and I was going to use the hanger swirl to kind of bring it, up and create a nice design. But I forgot completely. Completely. And then I remembered after I had done the texture, put the mica on top, and put the salts, that's when I remembered that I hadn't done that the hanger. And then I just said, you know what, I'll leave it like that. So I left it like that. When I cut it, it turned out to be so beautiful. They look like tiger stripes, and I think that's even what they're called. Because if these were like the tiger, like brown and stuff, it would be an actual tiger stripe. So it turned out really nice in the end. And so that's kind of my first design. And so that's when I became brave enough to do designs. And I was just like, you know what, I'm going to keep watching videos. So I was watching a lot of videos on YouTube and just soaking up how they did designs. And I think I'm that type of person. Like I'm very visual, and I am very I'm able to really pick up skills just by really watching, and I will pay attention to every detail. Like I will know what how thick the trace was when you poured it and things like that. And that's how I kind of picked up that from watching YouTube videos. And then I started to make designs. And so I was making a lot of soaps, but then, and funny enough, some of my best designs were not recorded actually. It's like when the camera is on you, that's when you're nervous, and then you make a mistake. So some of my best designs, and I didn't even film them. But anyway, so I started making designs, and then I thought after some time that, you know what, I make a lot of soaps, and I was a content creator already. Like I already had a YouTube channel, and on the YouTube channel I used to show my just my life generally. But my life was so boring. Like I didn't have much to do. I wasn't going anywhere. I was also very depressed and unhappy. And so I didn't quite like showing my face on camera. And so what I decided was that, you know what, instead of showing my face, I'm going to start showing my soap making. And that's how Creamy Suds on YouTube came about. Like I literally just transitioned from a vlog, and I still have my vlogs and stuff on there, but I didn't delete them because they're still a part of the journey. And so I just transitioned the vlog onto Creamy Suds. And Now I have a new vlog again. It's a different channel. I'm not put there's still not too much content on there, but I want to get to it soon. Not now though, because it seems like I have a lot on my plate. Like there's just so many things I'm doing. Anywho, so I started doing videos, and then when I started doing videos, it was more to show the soap making as it is. I did not care, because I said to myself, when it comes to content, and people don't really understand this, you don't have to be perfect. You don't, because I think people want to see that rawness. People want to see you make mistakes. People essentially want to see every part of soap making. Your soaps don't have to be perfect all the time. And so I was met with some type of pushback. I'd see comments on like soap groups where they would like say things like, well, today every Tom, Dick, or Harry wants to be a YouTuber, a soap making YouTuber, and like it's not for everyone. Literally, they had placed it on such a pedestal that if you were not some, I don't want to call any channels, but if you were not this person or this person, you don't have a business having a soap making YouTube channel. But that's a lie. That's a big lie. Let me tell you why. Because when it comes to soap making, first of all, it is a secondary school level science. It really is. And by the way, guys, secondary school is high school. It's not, what I mean is, it's high school level science. Anybody. It's not rocket science, guys. It's high school level science. So, like, why do they make it seem like you cannot do this, you cannot do that, or you cannot have a soap making channel? I can have a soap making channel if I want to. That's the reason. If YouTube knew that people couldn't have certain things on their channels, they would probably censor it. But like YouTube is a space for anybody to create anything that they want and entertain people in any way that they want. And I do believe that the people on my YouTube channel, I know that my YouTube channel has soap makers. And in fact, people that follow me, some of them are the ones who even give me tips and tricks. So some of the people who are on my channel right now are not on my channel to learn from me. They're on my channel more to experience with me, to learn with me, not from me, but with me. They're on my channel more to sort of see the mistakes, see how failures can happen, because these things happen to almost any soap maker. So it's not because I am Little Miss Perfect who knows how to make all the perfect soaps. I made these soaps the other day. This was a mistake for me. It turned out okay, but it was a blunder for me. I like the top, right? But guess what? I didn't intend to do these rolls. What I intended to do was completely different from what I ended up doing. And that's normal. It happens in soap making. So for somebody to come and tell me that I don't have a right to have a soap making channel because I am not, you know, the most skilled artist, it's quite insulting. It is, because I have the skills necessary for editing a video and making a video entertaining to people and creating something and giving people entertainment. Is not about perfection. I do not have to. Literally, I can even be somebody who can wake up in the morning and say, you know what? I want to do painting. And even though I've never painted anything major, I have done some paintings, but nothing major before. I can come out and do my rubbish, and there will be people that will find that funny. Entertainment is about just getting people's reactions, whether it is their emotions, whether it's making them unhappy, making them happy, making them laugh, making them cry. That is what it's about. Trust me, that's what content creation is about. So anybody can have a YouTube channel, no matter what level of soap making you are, no matter what, as long as you have the resources and you can and you want to, you should. So now we've talked about YouTube channel. Let's talk about soap making. Let's talk about soap making techniques. So I personally like swirls a lot, and the reason I think I like swirls is because they're just relaxing. They're so relaxing. I mean, soap making generally is relaxing, but there's something about taking a little stick and just drawing and just going with the flow. There's something about it that I just really love, and so I tend to do a lot of swirls. and then I enjoy it. How your package is not out for delivery. Okay, thank you. Right. So I tend to like enjoy swirling, and it's just so relaxing. It's something that yeah, it's something that I love. And let's talk about mistakes and how I handle them, because that's kind of where we've talked. That's what we've said from me talking just now. So with mistakes, right? I tend to go with the flow. I know that soap is soap. That's usually the first thing I have on my mind. Soap is soap. So even if I make a mistake, that's just the design. The actual product still has its functionality. It's still something you can use to wash yourself, and it still has the same ingredients and everything. So the design is just the design. So that's the first thing I tell myself, so that I don't get heartbroken when my soaps don't turn out well. And so usually what I do is, if I have a design in mind, I also have a plan B design in mind. That's how my brain works. And my plan B designs are always the swirls. And so if I want to do like a thin lines technique, which is the one where you go from side to side, from side to side, which is what I was going to do with this soap that I showed you, this one. I went from side to side, side to side, but then the thing was getting thick on me. And when it got very thick, what did I do? I changed my plan and decided, you know what, okay, it's going to have those lines, and then I'm going to do a swirl. And that's how I ended up with this beautiful swirl. It's actually really lovely. I love it. But it was not my original plan or intention. And so that was a failure, essentially. And so that's one technique I tend to use. I like to kind of always have a plan B in mind. And another plan B actually can be just splattering. Yeah, just splattering. And you would think that because you're just splattering, what am I coming up with? What's going to happen with this soap? But guess what? When it comes to abstract art, I'm not an artist. Disclaimer, I have not gone to school for art in any way. I do enjoy art, but I don't have any art background. But I do know that in abstract art, at least I enjoy things that are abstract, things that literally have no plan, things that kind of are unconventional, and things that are just kind of here and there. I see the beauty in everything. And so if you're using different colors and you make a mistake, you can just splatter, 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 splatter. And if you cut it horizontally, you will actually have your splatters out there. And in a way, there's beauty in that. And if you cut it vertically, vertically, this is what you end up getting. Yeah, this is what you end up getting. It's not so bad. And that's what I did with this one. I did the splat, and this is what I got. Not bad at all. So there's so many ways to improvise, and there's so many ways to get the best out of the worst, or get a good design. And you do not have to have some special skill to be able to make this. You actually don't. And guess what? Know that when your colors are nice, your soap will turn out nice. For me, I'm not too keen on these colors. Some people like them, but I don't. I feel like if it was like pink and like, maybe a kind of, I like pastel colors a lot. So if it was more pastel, you can imagine how beautiful this would be. So, yeah, whatever colors you use as well can influence how your soaps look. So now let's talk about natural soaps as opposed to soaps that have colors. So I gravitate more towards natural soaps, especially for myself and my own use. I do like to use the artisan soaps more on my body, but on my face, which is literally the part of my body I take the most care of, I use natural soaps only. And I really love them. And even when I make soaps nowadays, I find that I like making natural soaps more. I like creating different what's the word, recipes for natural functional soaps. And when I say functional, I mean soaps that I believe have a purpose. I don't want to speak too much about that, but soaps that I believe can help out with, say, dark spots or acne or things like that. for me, that has been my main issue. For the longest time, I had acne, and it was just going nowhere. And so I feel like I have found the solution to my problems, because all the Clinique I was buying, I was spending a lot of money on all these products, and and it wasn't helping. But now that I started using my own soaps, my face, honestly, right? It's like sometimes I'm like, once upon a time I was always doing this in front of the mirror, or doing this or doing that, but now I don't anymore. Like, I don't. And guess what? I only use my natural handmade soaps. I either use the oat and honey, or the turmeric, goat milk, or the Castile soap. Actually, I feel like that Castile soap has been the best I have used on my face, and I think I'm going to use it again, because anyway, we'll get back to that. So I kind of enjoy making more natural soaps now, and I think I'm gonna probably start gravitating more towards creating different recipes for different purposes on the skin, that will be mainly natural. And so I will have my artisan soaps, because I still have them, but I'm going to try to do more natural functional soaps for different things, be it for acne, for dark spots, for wrinkles, for I don't know, all the kind of skin issues that we come up with. I don't market eczema. If you have eczema, avoid handmade soaps. And the reason I say that, yeah, because earlier, you know how we had talked about chemicals and stuff like that. So the reason I say avoid handmade soaps if you have eczema is because handmade soaps are actually made to cleanse. They are the original soap. They are the soaps from back in the days. They are the soaps that are made to function in the way that they function, and that is to clean. And what does it mean to clean? It means to wash off oil, wash off dirt. Those are the things that natural soaps do, right? Natural soaps, genuinely speaking, they don't moisturize your skin. They don't. Yeah. I hate to be the one confessing this to you guys. They don't moisturize your skin. They just clean your skin. That's the truth. I used to wonder why they would say, oh, I know that some may not be as drying as others, because I have used the Castile soap now, and I can tell for sure that it doesn't, when it's not as drying as others, just know that it means it doesn't wash off oil as much as a different soap would wash off oil. And so it's not as drying. But in terms of whether it's going to be adding oil to your skin, no, it's not going to be doing that. No matter how much super fat you have, because that soap, that sodium hydroxide mixed into your soap, is built to clean out that oil. So even if you have 30% super fat, guess what? The sodium hydroxide that is in that soap is going to wash that your super fat off. So even the super fat is pointless. Sorry. I have done my research. I have used my own head to think about this, because at the end of the day, we have our own brains for a reason. I have a level of education that I believe that I have a sound knowledge of certain things that I talk about, and I know that I can actually let you know this, that super fat does not mean you're having, if you don't know what super fat means, it's literally the extra oil in your recipe that is not saponified. So, and essentially it's floating oil. That floating oil does nothing. You're as good as a 0% super fat, because the oil is also washed off with your soap. The oil, if you take oil and rub on your skin and you wash it off with soap, the oil goes. So why do you think the super fat stays? You know, so it's just super fat. I mean, let me know what you think in the comments below as well about super fat. Just let me know if you think super fat does anything. But I personally think super fat is not. Super fat for me is simply a control measure to just make sure that if I have any free lying sodium hydroxide, it is used up. That's all I use super fat for. I don't use super fat to condition my skin or anything like that. So yeah, that we're done with super fat. So so back to natural soap. So I just really like natural soaps on my face. And I was going to talk about Castile. I feel like I'm going here and there. So my Castile soaps, I used one the other day. Hey God, it felt like silk. It felt so good. And I used it only on my face because my face is my baby. So I used that Castile. I used an entire bar. The bar lasted so long, it did not melt. It was slimy, but it did not melt. It wasn't melting away. It was perfect, and it lasted about a month. And but then I use it a lot. Like I use, and this is even with a small bar. It wasn't a big bar, and I used it for a month on my face, and it was just so good. And in that month, I didn't have a single blemish. There was nothing. My face felt so smooth and so good, and just, yes, it was all around nice. And after I used the Castile, I went back to goat milk, one of my goat milk soaps, because that's what I also use on my face. And of course, I love the goat milk soaps, but I'll confess that the Castile soap on my face was the best. And so, you know what I'm thinking of doing now? I'm thinking of making Castile soaps with the recipes that I love. So Castile and oat and honey, or Castile oat and honey, Castile turmeric and honey, and then even this moringa that I tried the other day, maybe Castile moringa or something. And those will be some of my facial soaps for sale, and also for myself, because I think they're going to be powerful. So far from all the soaps that I've used, and guess what? When I talk of my face is literally my testing zone. From all the soaps that I have used on my face, the best, the absolute best has been the Castile soap. It has been the 100% olive oil soap. And my second best would be my goat milk, oat, and honey. Now, let's talk about additives. Let's talk about the things we add to soap. See, I told you this thing will probably go on for more than an hour. And is anybody even talking? I don't even know. I've just not been seeing live chats. Let's see. Live chat, all messages are visible. Okay, right. So let's talk about goat milk. Let's talk about additives in soap. So I tend to use sodium lactate, citric acid. What else do I add? Obviously, besides all the other play additives like oats, honey, and all those other things, well, I'm talking of additives that actually affect your soap and how your soaps turn out. And that is sodium lactate and citric acid. So sodium lactate is used to harden the bar, and don't be afraid of the name, lactate. I'm sure you can already tell, lactation. And then that word shouldn't scare you. And then sodium, again, it's a free line element. It is in your salt. Your salt is sodium chloride. So sodium is not dangerous. Don't be afraid of it. It's sodium lactate is just, because some people will see sodium lactate on your ingredients and be like, oh, what's this? It's just it's a salt. It's a type of salt, and it hardens the bar. It makes the bar harder, as they say. But I've not really seen a huge difference in it. I used it for a long time. I had a full bottle. I finished it. And for me, I'm a very functional type of person. I don't like to buy things I don't need. And when I finished it, I decided I'm not going to be using it anymore, because, to be honest, I didn't see how much harder it made my soap. Like, yes, my soaps would unmold nicely, but to me, the difference was not so huge. I could leave my soap for 2 days if I wanted to, and it would also unmold nicely. So the difference to me is not so huge. It's not so huge. If anything, the only thing I think sodium lactate might be doing that is kind of an adverse effect to how my soap turns out, is I think sodium lactate probably suppresses lather a little bit, because it's a salt. I think it does. I suspect it does. So I'm not crazy about sodium lactate anymore. I think I'm not going to be using it anymore. However, I am crazy about citric acid. I love citric acid. And citric acid is edible. It is not dangerous. Some people see acid and they're like, oh, citric acid. No, it's not. It's literally in your food. It's, what are these things called? These are gummy bears. Are they called? Yeah, gummy. I don't take sweets anymore like that, so I don't really know. All these gummy bears and these sour ones, the ones that have all those things around there, those things around it, is citric acid. So it's not dangerous. It's very, very fine. It's something you can put in your food. It's perfect, but it's also used in soap. And what it does is it acts as a something called a chelator. I don't know if that's how it's pronounced, but that's what it's called. And so it binds to the ions from like hard water, and it prevents those ions from uh, negatively affecting the functionality of your soap. Because what hard water does, hard water has so many things, magnesium and all sorts of calcium and all these things that make that water, you know how I used to describe it, when you pour hard water on your skin, you do your skin I'm so stupid, your skin will go like your skin will literally feel, but with soft water it feels a little more slimy. I don't know how to explain this. It's like fresh water. How do I explain this? When you use soft water on your skin to wash your hands, it feels more, it doesn't feel like your skin doesn't feel dry. The fact that I keep saying is so stupid, but that's the best description. Just anyway. So hard water, and let me tell you a place in the United States that I know for a fact has hard water, and that is Houston. Maybe the state of Texas, but let me just say Houston because that's the place I know. Houston, oh my God. Their water, the water, if you live in Houston, I'm sorry, but you guys, your water is too hard. And I don't even know why. Let's not go into that talk because I don't know whether freedom of speech is allowed in this country. Let's just keep quiet. But people in Houston, your water is too hard. It's too hard. It's too hard. I took my soap to Houston and I used it. It was as if I was using oil to have, like, it just didn't even lather at all. Not a single lather. I nearly cried. I was like, so if I have customers in Houston, is this what happens? And then here, my soap lathers, even my olive oil soap lathers so well here. Do you understand? Like, the water in Houston is hard. I don't really know about a lot of other places, but I think New York has soft water. So New York actually has really good water, especially for like soaps and stuff. And I have an environmental policy and management background, and I did do some research at some point, and actually New York does have good water. So contrary to what some people might think, I remember I wrote it somewhere one time and someone said, oh, New York, oh, do they have good water? Because New York, when you think of New York, if you're not from there, you think of like the subways and mice and things like that, and you're just like, ugh. But no, actually New York has one of the best water supplies, or I don't know what it's called, but New York does have very good water. Just FYI, random facts. They do. And so anyway, so yeah, when hard water interacts with soap, it doesn't interact very well. As we know, soap is an ancient creation, and so they didn't really factor in hard water because in the past, nobody used water that had chemicals added to it. Nowadays, we use a lot of things in our water treatment. I feel like I'm going into environmental talk. I feel like I'm actually doing my classes or something. And no, I shouldn't be going into too much detail with that. But anyways, so soap doesn't interact well with hard water. And so what citric acid does is citric acid helps to bind to the hard water ions, ion. They are the hard water, the things in the hard water, it binds to them so that they don't interact with the soap, and so it helps your soap to function a bit better. However, it's a natural additive, right? So it's not entirely the best. And so if you look at brands like, and I've been trying to avoid mentioning these brands, but I'm going to mention, if you look at brands like Dove, they have more synthetic chelators in their soaps. And so Dove will function so well even in Houston. And you'll be like, but this is soap as well. How come it's functioning so well in Houston? It's because they're using chelators that are not natural. So they are using more synthetic. And so when I say not natural, it doesn't mean it's dangerous. It's just not natural. It's synthetic. It doesn't mean, and synthetic just means it's man-made. Essentially, like it's created by man. Well, whereas natural is more free line and stuff like that. It's more like from nature. and synthetic is more, we created it, we kind of mix things together to make it come up. So it doesn't mean it's dangerous. So when people say Dove is dangerous, I'm gonna debunk that. Dove is not dangerous. That's just the truth. It's still a good brand. There's a reason why they are up there. It's a good brand. We don't have to try to bring down another brand for us to grow. We can grow in our own space. Do you understand? So Dove, we have to give them the respect they deserve. Anyway, so and I've been one of those people that hated Dove at some point, because I was like, why is Dove doing so well when they're doing this? But no, I've come to educate myself about things. Let's leave additives. Now, I have another thing to talk about. I just remembered when I said educate myself about things. I just remembered, let's talk about some oils. Palm oil, let's talk about it. So palm oil has a negative reputation. Very understandably so. It has been sourced in some of the most negative ways, very understandably so. And that's because, from the Amazon, it looks like there's so much. I don't want to go into too many controversial things, especially things I haven't done too much research about, but there's so much going on with palm oil, and palm oil is like, it's now a forbidden oil for a lot of people. But this is where I think I should come and bring in something to some people that may not know. So I'm Nigerian, right? And where we come from, we consume palm oil a lot. A lot. It is what we eat. It's literally our main. You see the way there's like canola oil and all these olive oil and things that we use for cooking here in the US and the Western world. In Nigeria, for us, that's palm oil. And you see, our own palm oil, we make it ourselves. It's like a part of the culture. We use it on our skin. Some people use it for beauty purpose. Some people use it. It's literally, we make our own palm oil. So it's Nigerian palm oil. I'm sure in Ghana, they probably have theirs as well, Ghanaian palm oil. Like, we make and consume our palm oil. And I have never, personally, I don't know who's Nigerian here who can testify, I have never seen a palm tree get cut down for palm oil. It is usually done, I've never been there, so I'm not going to say I know exactly how it's done, but I know that there is nothing harmful to the environment done to tap or to get palm oil. We eat with the palm kernel oils as well. We eat palm kernel, where I come from, there's something called banga soup. It's made with palm kernel oil, like directly from the palm nuts. And then we also drink palm wine. It's part of the culture. These things are tapped by the women of the village. Like, they make it themselves, they consume it themselves. They cannot even cut the trees down. They just can't. They don't. They do not employ any type of labor that is kind of false, or I don't know what the word to use for the labor, but unethical. Yes, that's the word. They don't employ any form of unethical labor. It's traditional. It's a traditional thing. And so when I used palm oil to create my soap the other day, I didn't really touch on it because I know that it's a topic that, oh my God, everybody's like, oh, palm oil this. So I didn't talk. I just mentioned in my video that I used Nigerian palm oil, and I thought that was enough. And thank God there was a nice person whom I think is Nigerian who came and clarified and wrote in the comment section that, look, Nigerian palm oil is not this palm oil you guys talk about that has all that controversy. And she explained it, and I thought that was a very perfect explanation. And so I pinned that comment. But somebody attacked me and said, don't use palm oil, educate yourself. This and that goes on. And I'm like, educate myself. So all the education I've had is not enough. I'm like, what is all this? Like, I just felt so attacked. And so I said to her very nicely, I was like, you need to educate yourself, because I use Nigerian palm oil. I use it every day. I cook with it. When I have beans in the fridge, when we cook beans, it's with palm oil. I eat it. Do you understand? I cannot even use the palm oil that they talk about because it's not the same. It's like when you taste, if you understand the taste of palm oil, you will also know that the taste is different. We Nigerians know that if you taste good palm oil, it's different from, palm oil really is not what a lot of people think. I understand the controversial palm oil from the Amazon or from wherever it is gotten. And I have no interest in it. I've never used any of those ones because it's not the type I'm used to. It's not what I eat. I see palm oil all the time. It looks white. In my head, I've always known palm oil to be red. We call it red oil. That's the other name for it. So I don't really know the palm oil that's, so I don't talk too much about it, but I don't even use it. So I feel like, I'm safe there. I don't consume that. But I've also read that I've read so many things about it. I don't want to go too much into environmental talk, but like I've read a lot of things about it. But what I just wanted to say is I let this lady or man, I don't know who it was, but I let the person know that educate yourself from the comment that was pinned. Read about it. Don't attack me for what I choose to use. I do care about the environment. That's why I went to school to actually do a master's degree in it. And I would not let anybody come and make me feel like I don't, you have your beliefs, I have mine. I'm not vegetarian, but it doesn't mean I don't understand how animals suffer from those of us who consume it. I'm very sure that the person who even commented probably eats meat. Do you understand? So there's so many things we do today that are arguably dangerous to the environment. So many things. If we had to start pinpointing everything, you would feel so guilty. There's so many things. From the things you even wear, there's plastic everywhere. Do you understand? There's so many things. So we just need to be mindful of how we speak to other people and just know that, yes, you may believe in something. You can try to do your best to help the environment, but you cannot necessarily control other people. And then also, the truth is, we are in a world of consumerism and capitalism, and there's almost nothing we can do about it. It's the truth. So let's leave that one. So anyway, that's my rant about palm oil. And guys, you need to just know that palm oil for Nigerians is a very traditional oil. We even use it. We use it for juju. I'm so stupid. But if you don't know what juju is like it's like voodoo. So like there are places you go to. I know in Lagos, it's like every junction where every road meets, you see like a calabash there and people feed the gods, and they usually put like yam and palm oil inside, and apparently the gods eat it, but the gods don't eat it. It's usually a homeless person who just comes and eats it. and then they say the gods eat it, but like that's it. Palm oil is used for juju. It's used for everything. It's like a cultural thing. It's very cultural. So when you talk to somebody like me about it, it's such an insult to my culture. So please don't do it. So anyway, so that's that about palm oil. Are there any other controversial additives to soap? Honestly, I don't even know. Even coconut oil has some controversy, just so you know, FYI, it does. But we'll go into all of that. So many things we consume have controversy. You'll be surprised, but let's not go into that now. So we've talked about it. We've talked about additives, we've talked about techniques, we've talked about obviously soap making. Now, I think the last thing I will talk about, what is the last thing to talk about now? I've talked about failures. I think I've touched on every single topic. So at this point, I should now be rounding up. I really hope you enjoyed watching my video. I can't believe I did this. Yay! I hope you enjoyed watching it. What else is there to come? So yeah, what's to come is my more natural soap making, because designs do give me a headache. I get so heartbroken when they fail. So I'll do more natural soaps. I plan on making Castile Soaps with my favorite recipes. So I'm going to be waiting 1 full year to use them and to sell them. And then I also plan on making, more recipes for different things that are very functional. And I also, obviously, I'll do some designs too, because that's also fun to watch. And then, yeah, I think that's my plan for the ongoing. Yeah, what else is there to talk about? I'm trying to think before I go, because sometimes when you go off, that's when you now remember and you're like, oh, I should have said this or I should have done this. Soda ash, that's a topic I had always said I would touch on. So soda ash, I'm not going to speak for too long about this, But soda ash, I've realized, is something that is very difficult to control. It's not harmful to your soap. It's really a film that forms when some of the sodium hydroxide interacts with the air, and when your soap is still very fluid. So how I've noticed is the best way to prevent soda ash is really to have a thick trace. That's the best way. If your trace is very thick, you will almost have no soda ash at all. But if your trace is really light, you're bound to have a lot of soda ash, especially if you're in a humid place like me. In Mississippi, it's very humid, so you're bound to have a lot of soda ash. Thank you. and then and then and then obviously there's the spritzing with rubbing alcohol. But what I find that does is, if you have a thin trace and you spritz with 100 or 99% rubbing alcohol, it creates an alien brain film on your soap, which is not cool, especially when you have a design that is horizontal. You don't want to have that. That is just, it was the worst thing that happened to one of my soaps. It just formed a very ugly layer. So you don't want that. So yes, rubbing alcohol is good, but rubbing alcohol is good when your soap has traced, and not when your soap has not traced. And the ironic thing is, when your soap has traced, you're less likely to have soda ash anyway. So it may not even be because of the rubbing alcohol. So yeah, so that's another thing that I said I was going to talk about. So if you don't want to have soda ash, then you're going to have to do a design that requires a thick trace. But with soda ash, and then the second best way to prevent soda ash is to cover your soap. So I used to use, and I just haven't had them in such a long time, I keep forgetting to buy them, cling film. Cling film is like plastic wrap. If you finish making a design and it's a thin trace design, those really, say, thin lines technique or things like that require a thin trace, then you use a cling film. As soon as you're done, just cover it up and seal it. Do not let air get into it. So the only air that's in it is the little bit of air that was there, which is also going to form some soda ash, but it won't be as much as if you just leave it open for lots of air to just be going in. And so even if you cover it with like something like wood, it does help, but there's still space for air to pass. So cling film, I find, is always the best. Just don't let your soap get to the very top, and just cover with cling film. It helps to prevent soda ash. Yeah, that's the only thing I have to say about soda ash, because someone asked me and I thought that was something to talk about, and thank God I remembered before the end of this video. So anyway, so I think that's it for today. Thank you guys for watching. A lot of you joined more towards the second half of this video, which is just interesting. So please, I'm going to be saving this video. By God's special grace, it's not going to get deleted. So I'm praying on my video. Please, God, don't let this video get deleted. So I'm going to save this. If you didn't watch the first half, there was so much interesting stuff I had to talk about on the first half, and very educative as well. And you can always watch that. And if you're just joining, subscribe to my channel. Oh, please, God, help me subscribe to this channel. Subscribe. Yeah, so subscribe to my channel and give this video a thumbs up, because it does help. And thank you to the 4 people who have given it a thumbs up. You guys are like literally my most valuable players. You guys know now. We're cool, we're friends, we're paddies. So anyway, yeah, thank you, Jill Jackson and Molly. Thank you guys so much, and I am so grateful to have you, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye.